the Brahmanes who attain them by offering sacrifice. There are two kinds of Swadharma, specific duties. As long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of his particular body in accordance with religious principles in order to achieve liberation. When one is liberated, one is Swadharma, specific duty becomes spiritual and is not in the material bodily concept. In the bodily conception of life, there are specific duties for the Brahmanes and Kshatriyas respectively, and such duties are unavoidable. Swadharma is ordained by the Lord, and this will be clarified in the 4th chapter. On the bodily plane, Swadharma is called Vajna Ashram Dharma, or man's stepping stone for spiritual understanding. Human civilization begins from the stage of Varnashrama Dharma, or specific duties in terms of the specific modes of nature of the body obtained. Discharging one's specific duty in any field of action in accordance with the orders of higher authorities serve to elevate one to a higher status of life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So Prabhupada has given a very clear and elaborate explanation in the purpose. See, in the previous verses, Krishna used arguments based on Gyan. Gyan means knowledge about our real identity as soul. So Arjuna is to operate on the soul platform. We induce Arjuna to fight. Now, Krishna will use less elevated principles. Krishna is using less elevated principles. He said that, okay, that Gyan seems too high. But even if it's on the bodily platform, there are specific duties that for a Kshatriya, fighting is equivalent to a Brahmana's performance of fire sacrifices. That by performing their duties, neither the Kshatriya nor the Brahmana incurs sinful reactions. Therefore, Krishna argues that Arjuna will not suffer sinful reactions in fighting the battle of Kurukshetra. This is the purport of this verse. So you can see on the screen, there is what is called Swadharma. Swadharma means prescribed duties. These prescribed duties on the lower platform, there are two types. Prescribed or specific duties are two types. On the bodily plane, it is called Varnashram Dharma. Varnashram. That you are a Kshatriya, there are codes, there are rules and regulations guiding Kshatriyas, Brahmanas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. There are rules and regulations. If you act according to these rules and regulations, from the scriptures, you will be gradually elevated while acting. Then the other one is when one is liberated. When you become liberated, you are also going to do specific duties. But these duties are eternal. They are activities in devotion. They are higher than Varnashram activities. So two kinds of Swadharma or specific duties. One is on the bodily plane, one is for those who are on the liberated platform. So those who are on the bodily platform, they follow the Varnashram system very strictly, then they will be gradually elevated. But when one is on the liberated platform, his activities are spiritual, and they really take him beyond the material realm until they become pure Bhakti. So we are on track. Okay. Hare Krishna. you can see the first type of Swadharma is called conditional. Conditional duties based on the body according to your Varna and Ashram. So the Kshatriya, the Brahmanas have their duties, the Kshatriyas have their duties, the Vaishyas have their duties, and the Sudras have their duties. So these duties with demarcated distinctions, they are called conditional. Conditional because they are based on the body and the karma there. Then, on the other hand, liberated specific duties are called spiritual, and they are called constitutional. Constitutional because since we are not these bodies, we are spirit soul. The eternal relationship of the spirit soul is service to the supreme spirit soul. Jivira Swarupa Haya Krishnara Nitya Dasa. Our Swarup, our eternal nature is service to God. Just as the eternal nature of sugar is sweetness, the eternal nature of salt is saltiness. Similarly, the eternal constitutional inherent nature of the soul is service. This service, when directed to pleasing God, it becomes purifying and elevating. So that is constitutional. So in other words, every one of us, we have both constitutional duties and we have conditional duties. The ability to harmonize the two is called yoga. No, harmonizing the two to attaining equilibrium is called yoga. Okay? So verse 32 said it. Yadrishaya kopa panam swagadwaram apavritam sukina kshatriya parta labante yudam idrisam. Oh Parta, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of heavenly planets. Because when the Kshatriya fight and leaves the body in the course of the fight on the battlefield, he attains liberation to the heavenly planets. So, say, glorious are those who such fighting opportunities come unsought. Okay? That the heavenly planets are the goal for those following the Karma Kanda process. Those who are following Karma Kanda, they want economic development for sense gratification. They perform fruitive activities for economic development for sense gratification. So this is their level. And when they perform it and they become very perfect in performing these duties, they attain heavenly planets for more, classical enjoyment. You see, they enjoy better in the heavens. There are more facilities for enjoyment. You're like here on earth, there are more facilities for enjoyment in America. The same way, there are more facilities for enjoyment in heaven than on earth. So when one who follows the financial system follows perfectly, it will attain the heavenly planets for more enjoyment. So the goal is enjoyment in the heavenly planets for Karma Kandis. Then Krishna tells Arjuna, who fears for his relatives' welfare, that he can send them to the heavenly planets by defeating them in battle. So all these who are come to fight, if you defeat them in battle, since they die in the battlefield, they will also go to heavenly planets. So they are getting elevated through you. See? Therefore, in all circumstances, fight. You gain everything, you lose nothing. But if you do not fight, you will lose everything. You cannot send them to heavenly planets. You yourself cannot go. Then you'll be a coward and you suffer sinful reaction. But if you fight and you kill them, they will go to heaven, and you also will go because you are doing your prescribed duty. You see? So in all circumstances, you are a gainer if you fight. You see? Why should Arjuna fight? This way or that way, you have to fight. If you think that you are not in the bodily concept of life, then it is my order. You must fight. If you think that you are in the bodily concept of life, then you are a Kshatriya. You must fight. Either way, you have to fight. Okay? So this is the purpose of this. The next verse 33. Atachetwam imam damiam. Atachetwam imam damiam. Sangramam na arishasi. Tatahaswa dhamma kritinja. Itwa papam avasyasi. If, however, you do not fight this religious war, then you will certainly incur sin for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. Arjuna was a famous fighter. Yes. And this is the purpose. Arjuna was a famous fighter. And he attained fame by fighting many great demigods, including even Lord Shiva. After fighting and defeating Lord Shiva in the dress of a hunter, Arjuna pleased the Lord and received as a reward a weapon called Pasupati. Everyone knew that he was a great warrior. Even Dronacharya gave him benedictions and awarded him the special weapon by which he could kill even his teacher. So he was credited with so many military certificates from many authorities, including his adopted father Indra and the heavenly king. But if he abandoned the battle, he will not only neglect his specific duty as a Kshatriya, but he will lose all his fame and good name, and thus prepare his royal road to hell. In other words, he will go to hell, no, not by fighting, but by withdrawing from the battle. He will go to hell if he doesn't fight. So it's to fight. This is the purpose of the verse. Fight. Fight. So Krishna is inducing Arjuna to fight. So this verse specifically defeats Arjuna's argument that he will incur sins by fighting. Rather, the opposite is true. Now, in verse 33 to 37, Krishna describes additional losses Arjuna will suffer if he neglects his duty. Okay? So let's listen attentively. That not only will he go to hell by not fighting and lose everything, but by not fighting, he's going to get some more complications. So between verses 33 and 37, these extra losses are explained. See? Arjuna thinks it will be more noble to leave the battlefield, but Krishna argues otherwise. So this argument is specifically to defeat Arjuna's argument that if he fights and kill all those relatives, he will incur sinful reaction. Krishna said, no, it's not true. It is when you don't fight that you will incur sinful reaction, because as a Kshatriya, it is your swadharma to fight. If you abandon your swadharma, you'll be infamous and you will also not go to heaven. So these are the two goals of a Kshatriya: to become famous and also to attain swagga. You will not attain swagga and you also become infamous. So you will lose everything if you don't fight. Therefore, if you know yourself, fight. Fight. Okay, verse 34. Akritim chapi bhutani kata yisyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakriti maranat atirishade. Translation. Somebody's going to read the translation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Read.
People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Purport.
Okay, read purport. Read the purport.
Both as friend and philosopher to Arjuna, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjuna's refusal to fight. The Lord says, Arjuna, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And if you think that people may call you bad names, but that you save your life by fleeing the battlefield, then my advice is that you would do better to die in the battle. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So you should not flee for fear of your life. Better to die in the battle. That will save you from the ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. So the final judgment of the Lord was for Arjuna to die in the battle and not withdraw. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This is very clear and self-explanatory. However, let me add that we may question why a devotee like Arjuna should be concerned about honor or dishonor. The point is that we should understand that in this section of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is not speaking to Arjuna on the transcendental platform of devotional service. Rather, he is addressing Arjuna's brave Kshatriya spirit. Okay? The pain of a disgraced life will be more painful than death for a warrior like Arjuna. So Krishna is trying to incite Arjuna to be awakened to his true Kshatriya spirit and fight. You see, so this is the purpose of this verse. Yes, it is very self-explanatory. Yes. These are the further consequences of not fighting, encapsulated. Papam, sinful reactions. Why? Because if he neglects his duty, he will acquire sinful reaction for neglecting his duty. Yes. And this duty, if he had done it, the people on the battlefield will be promoted to the heavenly planet. So he failed to be used as an instrument to promoting these people to the heavenly planets. So he will incur sinful reactions by not doing his duty. To worsen it, people will see him as a runaway soldier. Papam, sinful reactions. Kritim cha itwa, he will lose his reputation as a fighter. They will no longer refer to him as a strong fighter, Arjuna. Instead, they will refer to him as the runaway soldier. Arjuna, the runaway soldier. And for a Kshatriya, that reputation is losing one's reputation like that is worse than death. Then akritim, infamy forever. They are connected. If Arjuna says that infamy doesn't matter as long as he can live, Krishna replied, for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. This on the screen. That Arjuna will be subjected to ridicule, that he left the battle out of fear only, not out of compassion. Abashya Badam. That means they will address him with unkind words. They will ridicule him. Nindam Chastava. Samatyam. They will scorn his ability to fight. You are bragging up and down with Gandibabu that you are Arjuna. But what kind of a runaway soldier are you? What kind of Arjuna are you? So your Gandibabu is useless. See? So to avoid all that, Krishna says to fight, is to do his duty. If you cannot understand that it's not a spirit soul, that the soul can never be killed, that he, Arjuna, is never the killer, he's only acting as well to change that. If you cannot understand that, it's to them come down to the platform of understanding specific duties. And having understood that his specific duty is to fight as a Kshatriya, is to get up and fight. That means Arjuna, Krishna disagreed completely with Arjuna's resolve not to fight. He disagreed completely. So verse 35. Bayad Rananu Paratam Mamsyante Twam Maharata Yesam Chatwam Bahumato Butwa Yasyasi Lagavam. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you a coward. Yes, they will scorn his ability. Who is that making noise? Please, for God's sake, please let me address this person. Who? They said, this thing you are talking, you are giving class online. That is not carrying to somewhere where you can put it. You are corrupting our class here. Carry the wood somewhere further. Okay? Please. Carry it further, please. Hare Krishna, please, sorry. There was somebody cutting serious wood at the back of our window, so I had to go and dress him in a Kshatriya spirit. Hare Krishna, I had to address him in a Kshatriya spirit, the spirit of Arjuna. So, Hare Krishna. So forgive me. So that is it. It is self-explanatory. It is encapsulated in the capsule on the screen. Verse 36. Abashya badans chabahum badisyanti tabahita nidantas tabasamautyam tato dukataram kim. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? See? So this is it. If you don't fight, you are just going to mess up your reputation. So what is the use? What do you gain by this kind of action and this kind of thoughts? What do you mean? You are Arjuna. If you are truly Arjuna, a true warrior, just get up and do your duty. Yes, Arjuna's compassion will be seen as cowardly weakness. That the result of his so-called compassion, which is based on illusion, will simply be infamy. Thus, Krishna again defeats Arjuna's compassion. As Srila Prabhupada writes, Lord Krishna was astonished in the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled for plea for compassion, and he described his compassion as befitting the non-Aryans. Now, in so many words, he has proved his statements against Arjuna's so-called compassion. Krishna gives his final verdict in the next verse, which are going to say, Hatova prapsyasi swargam itwamba bhukshyase mahim tasmad utista kunteya Yudaya Kritanenchaya. Oh, son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy this earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up and fight with determination. Get up and fight with determination. This is Krishna's conclusion. As the Prabhupada said, even though there was no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, on Arjuna's side, he still had to fight. For even being killed there, he could be elevated into the heavenly planet. So, in all circumstances, it's gain. Get up and fight. This is the final verdict. Krishna said, I don't agree with you. I've defeated your philosophy. Get up and fight. If you have any further argument, bring it forth, and I will defeat you flatly. Why are you talking then where you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief? How has all this deviating impotence come upon you? It does not befit an Arya. It does not elevate you to the heavenly planets. And you attract infamy by all this. You walk away as a runaway soldier. So what kind of compassion are you projecting? You are not a Brahman. You are a Kshatriya. Do your duty. Don't behave out of petty weakness of heart. Kutas Twam Kasmalami down. How has this come upon you, Arjuna? It does not defeat an Aryan. Kutas Twam Kasmalami down. Kutas Twam Kasmalami down. Kutas Twam, how? How has this come upon you? So let's go to verse 28. Yes. Get up and fight with determination. Arjuna, get up and fight with determination. Arjuna concluded that fighting will bring him not enjoyment, but misery. Krishna hearing defeats that point. Winning the battle, Arjuna thought, will cause the death of those with whom I will have enjoyed the kingdom. Losing will mean my own death. Krishna's words reverse Arjuna's plan for attaining happiness. If you are killed on the battlefield, you will attain the heavenly planets. If you are victorious, you will enjoy the earthly kingdom. Because there is no loss in either event. Krishna says, get up and fight with determination. Krishna's arguments, meant to inspire Arjuna to fight, are a particular set of instructions that address material enjoyment based on identifying oneself with one's word as a motivating force behind Arjuna's performance of duty. Krishna ends this section in the next verse and then takes the discussion, in verse 39 to a higher level of working in knowledge. So from the next verse now, we see from 38. 38 is the last verse of this session. So it is like this. Sukaduke samakrite lava lava jaya jaya tato yudaya yujaswa naivam papam abaksyasi naivam papam abaksyasi. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. And by so doing, you shall never incur sin. Bas. Okay? In this way, you will never incur sin. In which way? By executing one's duty in the proper consciousness. By executing one's duty in the proper consciousness, you will never incur sin. Now, verses 11 to 30 talks about Gyan. 31 to 37 talk about karma of activity. Verse 38 talk about Gyan and karma together. That fight with detachment, technically called niskama. So verse 38 is telling him something higher. And from verse 39 now, we are going to explain niskama karma yoga or Buddhi yoga. So this is the next topic. Buddhi yoga fights, but without any reaction. How to do that? We are going to see between verses 39 and 53. How to fight without attracting sinful reaction. So you can see. Is there any question on this point we have just done? Somebody's mic is on. Please mute your mic. You're not the one speaking, you should mute. Hare Krishna?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
You should mute, please. Is there any
Hare Krishna
question?
Prabhu. Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. So far, we learned that Satrias go to heaven when they die on the battlefield. So, on the other hand, I would like to know what can they do to attain the kingdom of God, or I mean the spiritual world at once also, or is it normally that a Satria after death they attain the heavenly planet? Thereafter, through the gradual process, then he can go back to Godhead. Or, on the other hand, can they go directly to the spiritual world also? That's my question.
No. This level of Kamakanda activities can only take you to heavenly planets. That is the ultimate goal for Kamakanda activities. When you get to the heavenly planets, you have to do devotional service if they are fortunate. You do devotional service, then that will take you beyond the heavenly planets.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but all these prescribed duties, according to Jonas and Ashram, will only take you to the heavenly planets. Okay?
Okay, so thank you very much.
So let me read this capsule again. This 38 before we go into the 39 proper. That Arjuna's reason earlier that fighting the battle will cause him to suffer prolonged sinful reactions. But here Krishna explains that no sin will be incurred by one who executes his duty in the proper consciousness. So we should just do our duties with proper consciousness. Duties done with proper consciousness. And what is that proper consciousness? The proper consciousness is Bhoktaram Jagyata Pasam, that the Lord is the enjoyer of all sacrifices and activities. That we should act for the pleasure of the Lord. That is the proper consciousness. Previously, in verses 11 to 30, to move Arjuna's arguments against fighting, Krishna presented Jnana, the difference between the body and the soul. It's an internal summary. Because Arjuna and the other warriors are eternal souls, no one will die. Only the body, which unavoidably perishes, can be slain. After presenting those arguments, Krishna encouraged Arjuna to fight based on fruitive consideration, karma, to gain pleasure and to avoid suffering. Yes, on the platform of reward and punishments. Now, Krishna instructs Arjuna to combine both jnana and karma, both knowledge and activity, and to fight with detachment. Okay? When you combine jnana and knowledge and activities, you get detachment. So when you act, when you fight with detachment from what? Detachment from the results of the work. You fight and offer the result, do your duty, and give the result to the Lord. Don't consider, defeat or victory. Just do your duty as a matter of duty. Okay? Working in this consciousness is technically called Niskama Kama Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. So that is the topic for the next session. Niskama Kama Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. Okay? Niskama Kama Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. Detached work on the platform of knowledge. Okay, that is what it means. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana defines Buddhi Yoga as Niskama Kama Yoga, incorporating Jnana within itself. Okay? One can perform Niskama Kama Yoga on one of two levels, depending upon the advancement of one's transcendental knowledge. One who simply has Jnana, knowledge that is not his body. He performs Niskama Kama, detached work. Such a work receives no reaction for his work because his knowledge has fostered his detachment from the work's results. So this is the beginning stage of it. Niskama Kama. His activity is called Niskama. Activities that do not generate reactions because they are done out of duty. The result is left for the Lord. However, one who has actual knowledge of Krishna possesses superior knowledge. Okay? This knowledge of acting with detachment, even the impersonalists, they have it. Every transcendentalist has that kind of knowledge. But when you have proper knowledge of your relationship with Krishna, as in Bhakti Yoga, it becomes Bhagavat Arpita Niskama Kama Yoga. It's not just Kama Yoga again. It is now Bhagavat Arpita Niskama Kama Yoga. That activity, conscious activity for the pleasure of the Lord. Bhagavat Arpita Niskama Kama Yoga. Okay? It's a higher form of Kama Yoga. not just Karma Yoga, working with detachment. But now you are working with detachment with the proper knowledge that everything should be channeled for the pleasure of the Lord. And you are doing it. That is called Bhagavad Arpita Niskama Karma Yoga. Okay? One who performs Niskama Karma Yoga on one of the two levels, depending upon the advancement of one's transcendental knowledge. One who simply has Gyan, knowledge that is not the body, performs Niskama Karma, detached work. Such a person receives no reaction for his work because his knowledge has fostered his detachment from God. However, one who has actual knowledge of Krishna possesses superior knowledge. No, he not only knows of his spiritual identity beyond his body, but he also knows that he is Krishna's eternal servant. Okay, so as a person also performs Niskama Karma, but he receives no reaction for his work because he offers the fruits of his work to Krishna. Both Niskama Karma yogis are free from reactions because they practice detachment in knowledge. But the Niskama Karma yogi who aspires for Krishna's loving service is Prabhu. So we know, please. Both Niskama Karma yoga are free from reactions because they practice detachment in knowledge. But the Niskama Karma yogi who aspires for Krishna's loving service is far superior. Okay, let's be attentive there. It may not yet be on the level of transcendental devotional service, but his activities will one day lead him to Krishna's lotus feet. The Niskama Karma yogi who knows only that is not his body may, if he desires, Brahmavada liberation, gradually attain mukti. Or if his transcendental knowledge increases because he associates with Vaishnavas, he may elevate his desire and attain Krishna's service. Okay? So the Prabhupada purport brings this verse, to the level of Bhakti or Bhakti. Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting because he desires the battle. There is no consideration of happiness or distress, profit or gain, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That is the special, peculiar flavor. Krishna conscious activities do not consider defeat or victory, profit or gain, happiness or distress. He is only concerned with doing his duty for Krishna's pleasure. That's all. He doesn't consider this or that. Just do his best. As devotees, just do your best for the pleasure of the Lord and leave the rest for Krishna. That is really transcendental. Okay? Really transcendental. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activities. Krishna in this verse has directly instructed Arjuna to fight, though his order is in the form of requesting Arjuna to fight, dutifully for the sake of fighting. Actually, Arjuna's fighting will ultimately be impaired by his desire to fulfill this order of Krishna's. That is Bhakti. When you act in order to fulfill the order of Krishna, that is Bhakti. Okay? Krishna wants Arjuna to fight on his order, as a surrendered servant. That's where surrender comes. You fight, but you leave the result to Krishna with Bhakti, detached from the results. In this way, Arjuna will remain sinless. So this is the purpose of this. It's very sweet and very clear because all of us here, we are acting, we have duties to perform. Both conditional, that means duties to keep the body and soul together. Understand? We have those activities to perform. And also we have constitutional duties to perform. So in this particular aspect of the Gita is very important for all of us, especially householders, who have to act to maintain the body and soul together. And at the same time, We have to channel everything to listen Krishna. It's very, very important that we take this portion very, very seriously. We are going to leave bodies, but before leaving the body, we have to live first. So how do we live in a way that we don't attract sinful reactions? This is the technique, it's a revelation here from Krishna. So we should take advantage. So let us go into how to do this, how to act in Krishna consciousness, Buddhi yoga. Krishna is going to arm Arjuna from verses 39 to 53. Plenty verses, about 14 verses on this particular aspect. So it's very, very important. So let's read this sloka to 39. Esate brihita sankye buddhi yoge tu imam srinu buddhiya yukto yaya pata kama bandam prahasyasi karma bandam prahasyasi. Thus far I have declared to you the analytical knowledge of Sankhya philosophy. Now listen to the knowledge of yoga, whereby one works without fruitive result. So you can see the clear demarcation between one section and the other. The 38 is the end of the last section, and 39 is the beginning of another session. Krishna is changing his gear. He's changing his gear. If you have been driving, you just drive, you get to some point to them, you free yourself, then you change the gear back to a stronger one, something like that. Now listen to the knowledge of yoga, the way yoga is coming, whereby one works without fruitive results. O son of Preta, when you act by such intelligence, you can free yourself from the bondage of work. So, can somebody read the translation and the purpose? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody should read the purpose.
Hare Krishna.
According to, okay, Mataji, you can read it.
Okay. According to the Nirukti or the Vedic dictionary, Sankhya means that which describes things in details, and Sankhya refers to that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. And yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to chase the fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering his cousin and brothers. The son of Dhritarashtra. In both ways, the basic principle were for sense gratification. Happiness derives from conquering them, and happiness derived by seeing kinsmen alive are both on the basis of personal sense gratification. I should read all?
Yes,
Babuji?
read all. Yes.
Okay.
No, it's pretty fine.
Even at sacrifice of wisdom and duty, Krishna therefore wanted to explain Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not killing the soul proper. And he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They were individuals in the past, they are individuals in the present, and they will continue to remain individual in the future, because of all of us are individual soul eternally. We simply change our bodily dress in different manners, but actually we keep our individuality even after liberation from the bondage of material dress. An analytical study of the soul and the body has been very graphically explained by the Lord Krishna. And this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described here by Sankhya in terms of Nirukti dictionary. Nirukti dictionary. This Sankhya has nothing to do with the Sankhya philosophy of the atheist Kapil. Long before the impostor Kapila's Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy was expounded in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the true Lord Kapila, the incarnation of the Lord Krishna, who explained it to his mother Devahuti. It is clearly explained by him that the Purusha or the Supreme Lord is active and that he creates by looking over the Prakriti. This is accepted by Vedas and in the Gita. The description in the Veda indicates that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti or nature and impregnate it with atomic individual souls. All these individuals are working in the material world for sense gratification. And under the spell of material energy, they are thinking of being enjoyers. This mentally is dragged to the last point of the liberation when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. This is the last snare of Maya or sense gratification illusion. It is only after many births of such sense gratificationary activities that a great soul surrenders unto Vasudev, Lord Krishna, thereby fulfilling the search after the ultimate truth.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't worry. Swam Visudam Vasudevan Savitam Yati Chatra Umam Sapavrita Satwe Chatasmi Bhagavan Vasudevo Yado Sajome Vijate. You know, so Lord Shiva was explaining to his wife like this, that he's always offering obeisances to Lord Vasudev in pure Krishna consciousness. That Krishna consciousness is that pure consciousness whereby all kinds of coverings are removed, and that once you ultimately come to that platform, that's ultimately. So the purport is very clear, and though it's long, it's very clear and self-explanatory. See, so I will input some capsules here, and we'll go on to the next, because this session is going to describe vividly how to act in Krishna consciousness, how to do your work, and work with detachment plus devotion. Okay, you work with Gyan. Now you work with Gyan, then you add detachment, then you are going to add devotion. Okay, work plus knowledge plus detachment plus devotion. It is the devotional component we are going to add now. We have been describing work plus knowledge plus detachment. But now we are going to add devotion. Work plus knowledge plus detachment plus devotion. Okay? So Krishna described Gyan, knowledge, as the difference between spirit and matter, or the soul and the body. Activities of Gyan are based basically, the same as those of Sankhya, an analytical study of matter and spirit. To practice either, one must renounce all activities and practice meditation. Krishna, however, has consistently instructed Arjuna in another way. He has told him to work in a renounced spirit, not to renounce the activity. Okay? But work in a renounced spirit. That is what we expect. We are also supposed to work in a renounced spirit. Not that we renounce our work. You stop working. No. But Amenga, you can continue to work. This is a license. Your working is okay. Rupanunga and Raganunga Bhakti, your working is okay. Madhusnaya Prabhu, your working is okay. You should work, but you should only work in the spirit of renunciation. Not that you renounce work. We don't do that. And that's what Krishna is fighting against, trying to defeat Arjuna. Verse 39 hints that analytical study Sankhya means the renunciation of activity. You see, which, if successfully performed, elevates one in jnana. But Krishna does not recommend that Arjuna renounce his activities. He therefore explains the benefit of actions, not renunciation of activity, and says that action should be executed in knowledge, with the understanding that one is not this body. Krishna encourages Arjuna to listen attentively, and to hear how to become free from sinful reactions. As the Prabhupada explained in the purport, which we have read, that Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as his spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. In verse 2:7. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the prapanam. Krishna will now tell him about the process, the process in Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, or the process in Kama Yoga or Bhagavad Arpita Niskama Kama Yoga. Or in other words, the practice of devotional service only for the same gratification of the Lord. This Buddhi Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10. We shall come to that. Chapter 10, verse 10. As being direct communion with the Lord. We'll come to that. But to those who are constantly devoted to serving him, he gives them the intelligence by which they can come to enjoy. He reciprocates with them as a super soul directly. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotional or transcendental loving service to the Lord, or in other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains to this stage of Buddhi Yoga by the special grace of the Lord. This grace of the Lord is what is, and that grace is churned out of that endeavor to act for the pleasure of Krishna. That will churn out the grace. The grace of the Lord will come from there. And by the grace of the Lord, the practitioner will arrive. That is it. So we should act for the grace, to attract the grace of the Lord. Okay? The Lord says, therefore, that only those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does he award the pure knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, the devotee can reach him easily in the blissful kingdom of God. Buddhi Yoga or Kama Yoga may be practiced at different stages. This topmost yoga, as La Prabhupada mentions above, is when Krishna blesses his devotee and inspires him with full Buddhi, full knowledge, and thus only effortlessly becomes fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. That is called love. Okay, so verse 40. This is what we have been reading about in the capsule. That why does Krishna explain Sankhya? So just to bring Arjuna to the point of Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya and Bhakti. In Sankhya Yoga, Bhagavad Gita 5:4. Buddhi Yoga, the practice of devotional service only for the same gratification of the Lord. That's called Buddhi Yoga. So now, question may arise. Yes, it's a very serious question that will arise there. Let's see what's happening here. Verse 40. Neha Bikramana Sastri Pratyabhayo Navidyate Swapamapi Asya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. Please let us read it together. Neha Bikramana Sastri Pratyabhayo
Vayo na vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayo dhammahatuvayat.
Yes. Because Arjuna was thinking, no, okay, read the translation.
In this endeavor,
yes. Carry on.
In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear.
Okay, so endeavors in Krishna consciousness, Buddhi yoga, saves us from rebirth in the lower species and from remaining trapped in the wheel of samsara. There is no loss or diminution because all advancement is eternal. Material advancement, of course, is always temporary. Krishna continues encouraging Arjuna to hear about Buddhi yoga. You know, verse 41 has special significance for Krishna conscious devotees. Verse 41. It has special significance, and we are going to go to that. Verse 40 also, this is one of the motivational verses. Now, when devotees read it, yes, they become encouraged. Because the question is that as we are on this path, it is not easy. So if somebody after practicing for a long time happen to backslide and fall off the track, what happens? This is the eventual question that is going to answer. See, this is the ultimate question. Arjuna is going to eventually ask this question. So when you practice and you could not perfect, what happens to you? After leaving the body, you become like a non-entity. And you are not there because you have left the material world and you have been practicing spiritual life and you have not attained. So you are neither there nor there. You are in between. Will you get driven away like a raven cloud in the sky and you become a non-entity, you lose everything and gain nothing? What happens? We'll come to that, but before then, let us see this injection. Very, very good for us. It awakens our minds to some kind of happiness. Yes. So no loss or diminution. The example of Ajamila is given. We're not going to read it, it's given in the purport. The example of Ajamila. And there is a reference to a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:5-17. The purport will be very sweet. And I don't know. Okay, it's not too long. Do we read the purport?
Yes, please, Prabhu.
Read. Very important.
Activity in Krishna consciousness or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed. Otherwise, the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at a loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point. So that the next beginning is from the point of 2%, whereas in material activity, Without 100% success, there is no profit. Ajamila performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the results he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord.
By the grace.
There is a nice verse in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam. If someone gives up his occupational duties and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? Or, as the Christians say, what profit a man if he gains the whole world, yet suffers the loss of eternal soul? Material activities and their results end with the body, but work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness, even after the loss of the body. At least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmana or in a rich aristocratic family that will give one a further chance for elevation. That is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This verse is very, very important for devotees. I think that is verse 41, isn't it?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, can I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Jamil had not performed any Krishna consciousness. Only his son was having name of Narayan. That was only he was taken. And when he saw the Yamududas, and then after he get the get the life again, then he performed his spiritual activities. Then he went to the that place of Godhead.
Yes, what you are saying is true. But we did not begin. Initially, Ajamila was born into a Brahmana family. In his early days, he did devotional service. He was a true follower at the beginning. You know, he was doing serious devotional service at the beginning. But something happened. So along the line, he got distracted. He got distracted along the line. So he left his activities. He left. Then he was one day, actually he left because one day he was passing through the forest and he saw a prostitute in a very warm embrace with a man. They were kissing. And when Jamila hid behind the tree and was watching, he said, what? This must be enjoying so much enjoyment here. What is going on? So I've been missing all this. Wow. He was hiding behind the tree, watching everything. So after he left, he calculated and he was able to track the same process. And that was the person he married. He followed her, he couldn't leave her until he married her. When he married her, he gave birth to children with her. Okay, those are the children that he started naming them, named them the names of the Lord. And the last one, he named him Narayan. And when he was leaving the body, as he saw the Yamadutas, he became struck with wonder and fear and ghastliness. And he was shouting, calling his son, but he was actually chanting the name of the Lord, because Narayan is the name of the Lord. And immediately the Vishnu appeared. So what I'm trying to say is that because of the devotional service he did in his earlier days as a Brahmana, you see, he continued from there. He was able to give holy name to the Lord's name to his children. So it's just the arrangement to save him because of the devotional service that he had done before. So he did not begin as a kami. He was a devotee first. He was a devotee first. Then later fell down. That was Ajamila's situation.
Yeah, Prabhuji, but in our previous, like before coming Krishna consciousness, we were not doing so much like praying to Krishna. So how we get like, can you get me? That we got the Krishna consciousness, like how we get that? We have not done before anything, like we were praying Shiva and Sai Baba, Ganesha, but we were not praying to Krishna. Then also we got this Krishna consciousness.
It's as far as you know, in this lifetime. In your previous life, the devotional service you did, you can't remember. But you did devotional service before in your previous life. And we are going to come to those verses. In the Bible,
but why we got that after so many years?
that is the time that the thing mature, the fruit mature now. When you get a fruit on the tree, does it mature the same day? It will be green for some time. By the influence of time, it becomes mature. When it's mature, that the thing will happen. It becomes tasteful. The real thing happens. So karma, prarabdha karma, the karma reaction is on different levels. Some are on the seed platform, some are just fructifying, some are fructified but are still green. Then some become ripe. Different level of manifestation. Okay, so before it was not right. The time it arrived, you saw the devotees by the arrangement of the higher beings. You saw the devotees, and everything they said became meaningful to you. And before you realize, you have become a devotee. This is how it happened, Mataji. It's a carryover from previous life. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, you were a devotee, serious devotee. I want to quote one verse from Bhagavatam. I'm trying to look for it to do it. This verse says, it was spoken by Devahuti. Two verses, Devahuti spoke to Kapila Muni. And one is Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 33 chapter, 3rd canto, chapter 33, verse 6. You can write it down, later you go and read it. 3rd canto, 33 chapter, verse number 6. It reads like this. Yanamadaya Shravananu Kitana Yat Pravana Yat Marana Happy questions. Swado Abisadya Savanaya Kalpate Kuta Punaste Bhagavanu Dashanant. To say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Lord face to face. Even a person born in the family of dog eaters immediately becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of God, or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him. Then verse 7, these two verses, Canto 3, chapter 33, verses 6 and 7. Now, this is the 7th one. Aho bataswa pacho atu gariyam yajiva grevartate namatubhyam tepu stabaste jubu chasnuaria brahmana uchu namagrinantiyete. Oh, how glorious are they whose tongues are chanting your holy name? Listen, even if born in the family of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your Lordship must have executed all kinds and achieved all good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your Lordship, they must have bettered at holy places of pilgrimage or studied the Vedas and fulfilled everything required. Okay? For you to become favorably attracted to devotionals or favorably inclined to devotional service, you must have performed all kinds of austerity in the previous lives, studied all the Vedas, bettered in holy places of pilgrimage, and must have developed all the good qualities of the Aryans before you become attracted in this life. So this is the truth about it. Okay? So, Hare Krishna. All of us, we didn't start now. A long time we started. Okay? Now, this where we are, no loss or diminution. The example of Ajamila is given. Then another example. Then little advancement can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. The direct translation of the verse. Neha Bikramana Sastri Pratyavayo Navidjate. Swapam Api Asyadamasya Triate Mahatu Bayat. Now it saves one from gliding down to the lower species. It provides at least surety for human beings. If you are done devotional service, you can never go below the human form of life. Now, this was encapsulated in the purport that the result of work in Krishna consciousness, 1% Krishna conscious work bears eternal profit, whereas 100% work done in material consciousness bears no profit. Not even one profit. If you do all your material duties expertly, minus Krishna, the result is temporary. That means not even 1%. But if you do 1%, work in Krishna consciousness, the profit is eternal. So you can see. Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. This is the next verse. Sorry, my gadgets are going off. The next verse 41. Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. Ekeha Kurunandana. Bahu Sakai Anantascha. Buddhayo Vyavasayanam. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. So that is it. Very, very beautiful. A strong faith by Krishna consciousness. A strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Vyavasayatmika intelligence. Pinpointed intelligence. Resolute determination. And we are going to see that pinpointed intelligence is the intelligence to carry out the order of the spiritual master. That pinpointed intelligence is the intelligence to carry out the order of the spiritual master. That is the pinpointed intelligence we are talking about. Yes. Here, for the first time, Krishna mentions the Vedas to Arjuna. He tells Arjuna to give up his karma kanda. Okay, that is 42, sorry. 41. Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, one-pointed intelligence is required for success. Yes, if you want to be successful in Krishna consciousness, you should be one-pointed in your intelligence. You should be focused. As the Prabhupada once told his disciples that in the 1950s, before he spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world, he read the commentary on this verse written by Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur. He said that he was struck by the commentary, which further fixed him in his resolve to follow Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's orders to preach Krishna consciousness. And what was it? Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura wrote like this. He commented on this verse like this. Of all kinds of intelligence, the best is intelligence focused on Bhakti Yoga. In Bhakti Yoga, one's intelligence becomes single-pointed or fixed in determination. One thinks, the instruction of my spiritual master to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by chanting, remembering, serving the feet of the Lord, and so on, are my only sadhana, my only sadhya, my only livelihood. Sadhana means the process, sadhya means the goal. It's the only process and it's also the only goal, and it's my only life and soul. I am unable to give up these instructions either in the stage of practice or in the stage of perfection. They alone are my object of desire and my only responsibility. Besides them, I can desire no other responsibility, not even in my dreams. It is all the same to me, whether I feel happy or unhappy, or whether my material existence is eradicated or not. So you can see that intelligence is the desire, the strong resolve to carry out the order of the spiritual master. That is pinpointed intelligence that is being referred to here. The resolve, the strong determination to carry out the order of the spiritual master. When Srila Prabhupada went to the West, he didn't go with many rupees or dollars. He went with only 42 rupees or so, or 40, yes, something very small, very meager. He carried his Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the third and main property went with is the order of the spiritual master. The order of the spiritual master was installed in his heart. Go into the West and preach in English. And he carried that order. If you ever have money, print books, component of that order. And that is what he carried. And by meditating on these instructions, everything else fell in place. So if we have this desire, strong desire and determination to carry out the order of our spiritual master, everything will fall in place. Our devotional life will be successful. Our material life will be successful. Everything around us will become auspicious. Okay? Fully auspicious. That strong determination to carry out the Guru's order. That is all that we need. Srila Prabhupada comments further on this verse in his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 2:4-3-4. That the whole matter is concluded in the Bhagavad Gita 2:41 as Vyava Sayatmika Buddhi, or the absolute part of perfection. Sri Baladeva Vidyabhusana defined this as Bhagavad Arshana Rupaika Niskama Kamavi Visuddha. Okay? Visuddha Chitta. Accepting transcendental loving service to the Lord as the prime duty, free from fruitive reaction. So this is how serious the matter is. Okay? This is what we read. We read this one already. Of all kinds of intelligence, the best is intelligence focused on Bhakti Yoga. In Bhakti Yoga, one's intelligence becomes single-pointed or fixed in determination. One thinks the instruction of my spiritual master to worship the personality of Godhead by chanting, remembering, serving the feet, and so on are my only sadhana, my only sadhya, my only livelihood. I'm incapable of giving up this instruction either in the stage of practice or in the stage of perfection. They alone are my object of desire and my only responsibility. Besides them, I can desire no other responsibility, not even in my dreams. So this is it. What is the basis of such fixed resolution? What is the basis of such fixed resolution? That the resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sam Atma Sudhilabha. It's not anyhow knowledge. This is Bhagavat Arpita Gyan. Bhagavat Arpita Gyan. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sam Atma Sudhilabha. A person in Krishna consciousness is the real good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva Krishna is the root of all manifestation. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. There is a verse to this. Yes, there is a verse. We shall come to it. Yata taro mula nishesha anina. Tripianti tat skanda bujopasa kata. Prano bahara chaya tendriyanam. Tataiva sarvaranam achitijya. As pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlightens the senses and limbs of the body, simply worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods who are part and parcel of that Supreme Person. This was Narada's instruction to the Prasitas. So this is the verse. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practice under the guidance, able guidance of bona fide spiritual master. So when we have a spiritual master, and when we take the order of the spiritual master to hearts, we make our advancements by his grace. So this is the purport of this verse. Verse 42. Wait. 42 and 43. Yam imam puspitam vacham pravadanti avipashita veda vadarata patam nayat astibadina karmatmana swagapa janma karma pala pradam kriya visabaulam bhugaiswarya gatim prati. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery wells of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, the resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Okay? So you see, these men who are attracted to the flowery language of the Vedas. Okay? What statement do such people follow? Hare Krishna. Good morning. Okay.
He said what?
Wait for me. I'm sorry. Wait for me. Don't listen to me. Just a few seconds. You know what? Please, you can call me back you can call me back in the afternoon. Yes. Call me back in the afternoon.
Bhakti Sastri teacher.
Business. Please call me back. I have it. I have what you are looking for. Thank you. Okay. Please, I'm in a class. Even my discussion now, everybody's hearing me. So in the afternoon, I will call you back when we finish. Thank you. Prabhu, sorry. So what statement do some people follow? Acha. You know, why are such people attracted to the flowery wells of the Vedas? Because they are too attached to sense gratification or sense enjoyment. Bugaiswarya prasantanam taya pahritas desetsasam. For those who are too attracted to the to sense gratification, who are bewildered by such things. The resolute determination for devotional service of the Supreme Lord does not take place. Bhugaiswarya prasaktanam taya pavita chetasa boga. Okay? So you can see that. Here, for the first time, Krishna mentions the Vedas to Arjuna. He tells Arjuna to give up his Kamakanda mentality or the idea of using the Vedas for many sacrifices aimed at pleasing various demigods to gain temporary fruits and benedictions. So give up that mentality. I want to worship this demigod. I want to get this benediction. I want that so that eventually I go to heavenly planets to enjoy. Give up that mentality. You know, I want health, power, longevity, beautiful, harvest, heavenly pleasures. Yeah, it should be noted that in the previous section, Krishna encouraged Arjuna to fight by appealing to the same mentality in Arjuna that he now condemns. Although previously encouraging Arjuna to fight to obtain heaven, Krishna now speaks on a higher level, the level of Buddhi Yoga. Krishna wants to give him higher knowledge. That's why he's telling him this. What he agreed before, you can walk. Even if you lose the battle, you go to heavenly planets and everything will be yours there. But now he's condemning that is lower. According to your level, I gave you that before. But now let me give you something higher. Give up that mentality. There's something higher. This is what Krishna is doing. So, verse 44. Okay, that's what I was just quoting. I didn't know. Bhogaiswarya prashatanam taya pahrita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadau na. Yes, that in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Okay? People cannot become, people who are addicted to sense gratification cannot become fixed, pinpointed in their resolve to practice Krishna consciousness. Therefore, the very beginning of spiritual life, according to Srila Rupa Goswami, is mind and sense control. That's why we have 4 regulatory principles: no illicit sex, no gambling, no pursuit of no nudity. Because without self-control, you cannot practice devotional service. So, self-control, number 1 prerequisite for practicing devotional service. And in verse 45, okay, for the result of being attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas without their actual purpose is bewilderment. Owing to ignorance and material attachment, Kamakandis cannot fix their minds on the Supreme. Instead, they use the Vedas as an excuse to avoid the Vedic purpose, surrender to the Supreme personality of God. Krishna then prescribed how one can overcome this kind of mentality. How can one overcome this kind of mentality, attachment to the flowery language of the Vedas, ultimately wanting to go to heavenly planet to enjoy? How can we overcome it? Okay, so verse 45.
Prabhuji, please.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, can I ask how the person get bewildered by such enjoyment and material opulence?
How they get bewildered?
Yeah, like too much attached with sense enjoyment and material opulence.
How they get bewildered? Let's read the purpose. Let us read the Prabhupada's purpose. Somebody should read the purpose, please. Purpose to verse 44.
Samadhi means fixed mind. The Vedic dictionary, the Nirukti says, Samyaga Adhyayate Samina Atma Tattva Prabhuji, I can't read. When the mind is fixed for understanding the self, it is said to be in samadhi. Samadhi is never possible for a person interested in material sense enjoyment and bewildered by such temporary things. They are more or less condemned by the process of material energy.
So when somebody is doing that, when somebody's mind is overwhelmed by the desire for Visaya Bhoga, the desire for sense gratification, it cannot see clearly again because that desire will block his vision. And that time, all what he sees is the flowery language of the Vedas. If you do like this, you get this result. If you want to get good health, you worship this demigod. If you want wealth, you worship that demigod. If you want power, you want physical strength, worship that demigod. Those are the things you will be seeing. In the mind of those who are too attached to sense gratification, who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for the witness service of the Lord does not take place. See, who are bewildered by such things. But one who sees everything in relationship with Krishna, that Krishna is the enjoyer of everything in this world is meant for Krishna's satisfaction. Such a person never gets bewildered. Okay? So, but those who are too much attached to wanting to enjoy the things of this world and able to go to heavenly planet to continue the enjoyment, they can't see anything beyond that enjoyment. Whatever they do, say, what will I enjoy out of it? That desire to enjoy the fruit of one's labor, it blocks one's vision. It blocks one's clear vision. It stops you from seeing clearly. So that desire must be dictated to pleasing the Lord. You channel your desires to pleasing the Lord. That's why Krishna first told Arjuna that, oh, if you fight, you kill all these people, you send them to heaven, and you too will go to heaven. So there is no need for stopping fighting. You should fight in any circumstance. But now he's telling him that this is lower. You should fight with knowledge. That knowledge is that you are not this body, you are a spirit, so everything is meant for Krishna's enjoyment. So at that time, your work, your fighting, your activities become yoga because they are meant for pleasing Krishna. Krishna said, do fight for the sake of fighting. For that is what I desire. If you are fighting, if your activities are directed towards pleasing Krishna, then it is yoga. You are a yogi. I say, become a yogi. So we are going to see towards the end of this, the final instruction of this particular unit. Yoginam api sarvesam, of all yogis, that one who is acting in devotion is best, is the best of all. So make your activities in yoga by connecting them to channeling your desire to pleasing the Lord. This is the formula that Krishna is trying to reveal to Arjuna finally at the end of this, or with this session. So that is Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Is that okay? Is that okay? Hare Krishna. Okay, we can go further then. Now, verse 45. Trigunya Visaya Veda Nistrai Guna Bhava Arjuna Nridwando Nitya Satvasto Niryoga Shema Atmavam. Therefore, the Vedas mainly deal with the subject matter of the three modes of material nature. Rise above the Vedas, O Arjuna. Be transcendental to all of them. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in self. It's not telling Arjuna like this. You should become free from all this, rise above all the three modes of nature, because the Vedas deal with the three modes of nature. The Vedas are the ones that prescribe what you will do. They define the prescribed duty for the various ashrams and the various banners. That if you follow them expertly, you will gradually be elevated. Until when you quit the body, you can go to heavenly planets to continue your enjoyments, which many people like. They want to just enjoy. And they want to enjoy here. And when they leave their body, they go to heaven and enjoy seriously. Their goal is enjoyment. You see, but Krishna is telling Arjuna that, Prabhu, all this enjoyment in the heavenly planets are also temporary. They are meant for less intelligent class of men. The real enjoyment is in the spiritual world. So you become my devotee so that I can take you to the spiritual world. And there you enjoy eternally without being interrupted. Where there is no birth, no death, no old age, no disease. That is where real enjoyment is. So rise above the three modes, because the Vedas has all this flowery language you are hearing. You perform this jagya, you get this result, you perform this jagya, you get this result, you perform. All this flowery language is just to take you to heavenly planets. You can't go beyond that. So rise above the modes and become transcendental. And what does that mean? Act for my pleasure alone. Act for my satisfaction. So this is what he's saying. Krishna instructs Arjuna to rise above the quick performance of duty. Rather than fighting to gain heavenly pleasures or to avoid infamy, it should be established in self-realization. Arjuna previously reasoned that destroying the family tradition will end the performance of Kamakanda rituals. Now, Krishna now defeats that argument by telling Arjuna to rise above those rituals, which are contaminated by the mode of material nature. In his purpose, Srila Prabhupada comments on Krishna's first mention of the three modes of material nature and summarizes the process of transcending the modes. As long as the material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. One has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities, such as happiness and distress, or heat and cold. And by tolerating such dualities, one becomes free from anxieties regarding gain and loss. Tam siti saswa barata, masras prasas tu kuntiya, sitosna suka dukada, agama pa inuni, tiam tam siti saswa barata. This transcendental position is achieved in full Krishna consciousness when one is fully dependent on the good will of Krishna. Krishna concludes his argument in verse 46. Krishna concludes his argument in verse 46. So this is it. What you are seeing on the screen. Nisrayo Guna Baba Arjuna, O Arjuna, become transcendental to the three modes of material nature. How? Niridwandwa, be free from all dualities, and Niryogatshema, from all anxieties for gain and safety. And Atmavan, be established in self. As long as the material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. One has to learn tolerance in the face of duality, such as happiness and distress, or cold and warmth. And by tolerating such dualities, become free from anxieties regarding gain and loss. This transcendental position is achieved in full Krishna consciousness when one is fully dependent on the will of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Why do the Vedas deal with the three modes? Why do the Vedas deal with the three modes? The answer is on the screen. To gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane. Because ordinarily, what people do is called vikama. All the things we see people do is called vikama. Vikama means painful activities. Forbidden activities is what people do. And because the Lord is so merciful, He wants to extend His hands to those who are falling into the ocean of vikama, just doing things, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, doing things because they see other people doing. Oh, it is where they are selling wine that there is money. There is money where they are selling wine. Then you open a beer parlor. Oh, if you get a prostitute house, You will get money. Everybody will come there, make money in a short time. They open a brothel. If you kill animals, everybody will come and buy. And as Christmas is coming, you will make a lot of money. You open a place where you can slaughter animals. See, so all the simple activities, they bring money because people are absorbed in doing them. You just position yourself to serve them based on what they desire or what they are looking for. Then you will make money. So for that, people are involved in Ugra Karma. Ugra Karma now activities, they bring painful reactions. So they are there, absorbed in there. And the Lord said, let me help these people. So, okay, you can be doing those activities you are doing, but you should add religious injunctions. You should have some rules and regulations of the scripture to what you are doing. So if you want to be doing this, this is how you will be doing it. If you want to be doing that, this is how you will be doing it. These are the Vedas. The purpose of the Vedas is to gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane. Okay? To include them. Yes. Hey, sorry. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, devotees.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
You know what? Let us end the class now, please.
Why?
Yes, let us end.
Why we end the class?
Tomorrow we'll conclude. Prabhu.
Why?
Bhakti Vaibhav class is going to start.
Okay.
Prabhu, listen to me first. I'm attending a Bhaktivedanta course from Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education, and our class starts by 9:30, and it's already 9:48. I didn't know, I was carried away. So I have to quickly go and join them, Prabhu.
All right.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
So
Okay, Prabhu, no problem. Hare Krishna.
tomorrow we'll conclude the whole session. Tomorrow we'll conclude because only 5 verses are remaining for today. So we add them to tomorrow's song. So thank you very much. I'm very grateful for your attendance. The Guru and Krishna continue
Hare Krishna.
to
Hare
bless
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. This co-founder,
Hare
Chairman,
Krishna.
Prabhupada ki. Yeah.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I forgot I was just going on. Meanwhile, class has started already. So thank you very much for tolerating me. See you tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Bye.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.